good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Actually, today, celebrating the second anniversary of when we went 2 hours. Yes, just a week ago, we celebrated 3 years on the air, and then a little after a year of broadcasting, we switched to 2 hours, and let me tell you, thank goodness we did, because I don't think 2 hours is enough this morning. We have a lot to cover. I do have a little bit of housekeeping. We had to reschedule with Doc Possum, so Doc Possum will be on soon. I promise you. Just a scheduling conflict came up, and we will talk with Doc Possum soon. Okay, let's go to some viewer comments. After the bunker busters went off in Iran, I only saw black smoke. Does that mean no elected government is in place yet? Thank you very much. Big wave from Wyoming. Hey, that's a Wyoming wave. Proudly on the map. Been on the map for a while. We appreciate that. Okay, Rick started off this morning early, or I guess late yesterday. Looks like tough guy Donald is going to pull a taco, which taco is a statement that I guess, like so many political statements, gets run into the ground, but it stands for Trump always chickens out. And pull out of Iran with a straight still shut down. Tells our fellow NATO friends to open it themselves. Could you make the argument they're not friends? That's, I think, the argument Marco Rubio was making yesterday. We're going to talk about that later on in the broadcast. He starts something he can't and doesn't know how to finish. Our NATO allies are all going to abandon us, all due to Trump. What a coward. Lindsey Graham, who is a jerk, this is kidding. Rick, come on, bud. I mean, the level could be better than this. Was spotted at Disney, Florida over the weekend. He got caught in a lie about why he was hanging out with Mickey when he should have been hanging out with Goofy. How ironic. I wrote about Trump's ballroom Monday morning. Now a judge tells Trump to stop construction, basically because he didn't know the proper approval process. He didn't know, or he just started okay. And he doesn't own the White House. Judge gives him 2 weeks to cease and desist. I love it. He should have just asked permission for a drive-through McDonald's. The old apple cart is coming apart, okay? I know that they point to Lindsey Graham, but there's actually a piece. I've got other viewer comments. Hold on. But TMZ is actually using their, I don't know what you call them, paparazzi, I'm not sure, photographers, to go out and find these Congress people who are essentially enjoying their paid vacation. And I know there was criticism of Lindsey Graham at first because that's where the media would go. The media would always look for conservative, but TMZ found many Democrats. We mentioned Robert Garcia yesterday, who was caught at Fontainebleau in Las Vegas Resort. You had the pictures are popping up of everybody. So to pick just one party is a little bit, I think, disingenuous. But if you want to specifically call out Lindsey Graham, okay. Mark writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. Netanyahu says Iran is no longer a threat to Israel, and President Trump said if the cowardly allies want to open the Strait of Hormuz, they can on their own. They can, because he is not going to help because they didn't help him. Also, Trump said the war will be over in a couple of weeks. We're going to get to all of that a little bit later on. We'll talk about Iran a little bit. I have some stories here to kick off the program, all sort of breaking, all things that could really take up the full broadcast, but we're going to have to rush through them. So I feel bad for those that didn't start the broadcast right at 6 because you're going to miss a lot. But first of all, if you haven't seen the news, President Trump will address the nation tonight to provide what he called an important update on Iran, or Carolyn Levitt called it an important update on Iran. The address will take place at 9 p.m. tonight. So an address to the nation by the president. All right, just a couple things I want to get your opinion on, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty. First of all, this is coming right down the road at Cornell University. Once each semester, Grit Mathis Phelps, a German language instructor, introduces her students to typewriters. No screens, online dictionaries, spell checkers, delete keys. The exercise started back in the spring of 2023 when she grew frustrated with the reality that students were using generative AI and online translation platforms to churn out grammatically perfect assignments. Phelps said, "What's the point of me reading it if it's already correct anyway, and you didn't write it yourself? Could you produce it without your computer?" She wanted students to understand what writing, thinking, and classrooms were like before everything turned digital. So without going into any more of that, just a way to combat AI. An Ivy League teacher right at Cornell decides to make students use typewriters to fight against AI. Okay. Now, on a very discouraging note, and we will talk about this in depth later on in the broadcast, but in case you missed it, what is nothing more than a partisan move to show you what one-party rule looks like in New York State, the Election Finance Board did rule against matching funds for Bruce Blakeman yesterday. So what the Democrats have done is denied Bruce Blakeman the matching funds, whatever you think of matching funds, but in what is a purely partisan fashion, because they wanted this matching funds. It was supposed to help the little guy. Of course, that's never been the case. It helps incumbents. It helps those already in power. But a state board on Tuesday, disqualified Republican Bruce Blakeman from receiving public matching funds for his gubernatorial campaign, dealing him a potentially huge blow in his run against Governor Hochul. Don't think Hochul didn't have her hands in this. I would say this goes to show you how false their claims have always been about matching funds. Keep in mind, they are saying he basically lost the funds on a technicality because he didn't fill out paperwork that does not exist yet. The State Public Campaign Finance Board ruled in a 4-3 vote. Keep in mind, Democrats have the majority on that board, that the Republican Nassau County executive is ineligible because he filed incorrect paperwork to qualify for the matching funds program. It is available to gubernatorial candidates for the first time this year. The issue is huge because Blakeman trails Hochul by about $20 million in the money chase, and the matching funds could prove crucial to his campaign. After a heated exchange, the 4 Democrats on the board agreed with a staff recommendation that Blakeman was ineligible because he failed to file certification papers that included his lieutenant governor running mate, Madison County Sheriff Todd Hood, as required. Now, keep in mind, he had already filed the paperwork for himself, but because he got a lieutenant governor, because they have to run on the same ticket now, this is before he picked them, they didn't give him that opportunity to correct that mistake. Again, there was no paperwork. The deadline for correcting the error was March 2nd, and the burden was on the campaign to be on top of the requirements, be aware of the mistake, and fix it, the staff said. The 3 Republicans on the board accused Democrats of using, quote, a bureaucratic snafu to punish Blakeman. They warned the vote would be challenged in a lawsuit, and rightfully so. To qualify for matching funds, any candidate we don't have to go through all that. All right, so Bruce Blakeman is what another dirty trick by Democrats in New York State. Apparently a lot more scared because the polls aren't that great for Blakeman. The poll that came out yesterday, the Siena Research poll, shows Blakeman was gaining ground on Hochul with her lead falling to 13 points. So you're still talking double digits. So apparently Governor Hochul and the Democrats are a lot more scared of Blakeman than I guess you could say gave him credit for. We're going to talk about it a little bit more later on, and we have a lot of New York State updates, but we got to keep moving along here. Trump's $400 million White House ballroom project has been halted by a federal judge, but President Trump said he won't stop the renovation. The order from Judge Richard Leon, a George W. Bush appointee, marks the first consequential setback Trump has endured in his quest to construct the ballroom. Unfortunately for defendants, this is what Leon wrote, unfortunately for defendants, unless and until Congress blesses this project through statutory authorization, construction has to stop. But here is the good news. It is not too late for Congress to authorize the continued construction of the ballroom project. The American people will benefit from the branches of government exercising their constitutionally prescribed roles. Not a bad outcome, that. Not a bad outcome, that. I think trying to be a little bit too cute by half. Trump said he will appeal the decision and will continue to build his ballroom. Leon delayed the implementation of his injunction by 14 days to give Trump time to file the legal objection. Trump, reading from the ruling, pointed to a passage where it stated the president is allowed to ensure the safety and security of the building and the grounds. That's what we're doing because everything's bulletproof glass. It's bulletproof and it's ballistic proof. It's very thick. It's like that, and it's going 45 feet high, and every window is covered. Every door is covered. The roof is drone proof. We have secure air handling systems. You know, bad things happen in the air. We have all these things. So that's called I'm allowed to continue building as necessary. So think of that for the safety of the president. So we have all these things. So on that, we're okay. Earlier, Trump bemoaned on Truth Social the litany of organizations the National Trust for Historic Preservation didn't sue, such as California for the controversial high-speed rail project or the Federal Reserve for its over-budget renovations, saying, quote, the National Trust for Historic Preservation sues me for a ballroom that is under budget, ahead of schedule, being built at no cost to the taxpayer, and we are building the finest building, and we will be the finest building of its kind anywhere in the world. Doesn't make much sense. So again, the ballroom, well, it doesn't sound like it's going to be temporarily delayed, really, does it? But that's, in theory, what's going to happen. Do you think right now, if it came down to it, that Congress would approve it? Unfortunately not. How they've been operating in Washington and how the Republicans, frankly, have been operating is troubling. Also, since we're talking about judges, a federal judge blocks Trump's order to end funding to PBS and NPR. Why? Citing the First Amendment. Well, I'm using my First Amendment here, so whenever the government could cut me a check, because apparently that's constitutional now, that not only do you get your First Amendment rights, obviously, but that the taxpayers have to pay for it. Citing the First Amendment, a federal judge on Tuesday agreed to permanently block the Trump administration from implementing a presidential directive to end federal funding for National Public Radio and the public broadcasting system. The operational impact of U.S. District Judge Randolph Moss's decision was not immediately clear, both because it will likely be appealed and because too much damage to the public broadcasting system has already been done, both by the president and Congress. Moss ruled that President Donald Trump's executive order to cease funding for NPR and CBS is unlawful and unenforceable. The judge said the First Amendment right to free speech does not tolerate viewpoint discrimination and retaliation of this type. Again, so this judge, oh, there we go. Okay. It only took the Associated Press 4 paragraphs to finally tell you who Moss was appointed by. So again, who do you think? We don't have time. But I do like to play that game. Who do you think Judge Randolph Moss was nominated by? Quote, it's difficult to conceive of clear evidence that a government action is targeted at viewpoints and the president does not like and seeks to squelch. So according to this judge, again, I would say an activist judge, NPR, PBS has a right to their First Amendment. They do. I would agree with that. That right then includes taxpayer funding. Boy, think of the can of worms that could open. Yes, Moss was nominated to the bench by one President Barack Obama. And then they go on to tell you all the great things PBS and NPR do. And since the funding cut, has your life changed? We've got some other court decisions we're going to get to next. We have so much to get to. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Hot tubs, hot tubs, hot tubs. With Easter coming, what better way to make every day better than with a Hesselsen's hot tub? During these uncertain, stressful times, what better way to relieve tension and relax those achy muscles? During Easter week, free chemicals and free steps, and the new and innovative, energy-efficient smart tub and hydraulic lift systems are just half price. Plus, huge, unprecedented discounts on 2025 models as factory reps will be on hand. Hesselsen's Easter week hot tub sale is going on now through Saturday at 5 p.m. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
You desire primary care that connects. Care that helps you move forward. Care that connects you to world-class specialists. Care that connects you to providers who are part of your community. And care that connects you to the life you love. Because great healthcare comes from providers who care about connection just like you. Find your primary care appointment at centralishealth.org/schedule.
Everyone has a ritual, that small thing that keeps us focused.
A habit we never skip to clear our minds and elevate our performance.
But what do you do to keep your head in the game, to drown out that self-doubt and support your mental health? Because being your best isn't just about taking care of your body.
It's about taking care of your mind and your mental health.
Discover the resources that you need to keep your mind focused and your mental health a priority.
Morning after that wet stretch yesterday and last night, some lingering shower chances today. Temperature high of 57. That's falling through the day with cooler air moving in behind that departing system. Now bottoming out tonight in mid-30s towards low 40s to our south, and then we'll see a return of 60s on Thursday. Notice additional shower chances. 70s Friday and Saturday, cooler at the start of next week on the other side of Easter.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A couple comments from viewers. Why would Congress be involved with the ballroom if it does not involve any tax money at all? That's a great question. I don't know if that was addressed. Comment from a different viewer. Taco Trump always crushes opposition. I like that. So taco instead of Trump always chickens out. This viewer suggests it should stand for Trump always crushes opposition. I like that. All right, the Supreme Court rules against the Colorado ban on conversion therapy for LGBTQ kids. An 8-1 high court majority sided with a Christian counselor who argues the law banning talk therapy violates the First Amendment. The justices agreed that the law raises free speech concerns and sent it back to a lower court to decide if it meets a legal standard that few laws pass. Justice Neil Gorsuch, writing for the court, said the law censors speech based on viewpoint. The First Amendment, he wrote, stands as a shield against any effort to enforce orthodoxy in thought or speech in this country. Gorsuch's opinion drew support from liberal justices Alina Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor. Now, it should come as no surprise because we see probably the most activist judge on the Supreme Court, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is a solid liberal vote every time, wrote that states should be free to regulate health care, even if that means incidental restrictions on speech. Ooh, that's scary. So now you do have an activist judge. You're not even talking about someone that manipulates things to their own worldview. You've got someone outright calling for government control. She wrote, the decision opens a dangerous can of worms. Oh, okay, I just said that. That threatens to impair states' ability to regulate the provisions of medical care in any respect. The decision is the latest in a line of recent cases in which the justices have backed claims of religious discrimination while taking a skeptical view of LGBTQ rights. Now, Kagan turns on her liberal ally Jackson with a footnote jab over free speech. Kagan wrote in a footnote, Alina Kagan, Justice Jackson's dissenting opinion claims that this is a small or even non-existent category. But even her own opinion, when listing laws supposedly put at risk today, offers quite a few examples. Ooh. Kagan said Jackson's view rests on reimagining and in that way collapsing the well-settled distinction between viewpoint-based and other content-based speech restrictions. Yeah, it's not about precedent with Ketanji Jackson, Justice Jackson, Ketanji Brown Jackson. It's about pushing her worldview, pushing her liberal orthodoxy. So it doesn't matter what the precedent is. She believes, and this is what's scary when you get those on the left in the Supreme Court, especially when it nears, and right now it doesn't, but nears a majority or is a majority, because you have activism at that point. It's no longer using precedent, no longer talking about history, talking about free speech, rights, things like that. In her case, it's whatever her leftist view tells her, she will manipulate to push that agenda. So much so that Alina Kagan, an Obama appointee, called her out for it. So much so that it was an 8-1 decision that she is the one. And you got to remember, look at even the fact that she was going around selling her book. I mean, this comes as no surprise. We know how she operates. It's just something to keep in the back of your mind, especially when they talk about stacking the Supreme Court. One conservative lawyer on social media observed that Kagan seemed exasperated by Jackson. I imagine they would be, because they still don't. I know the media pushes this idea. It's so conservative, so conservative. Behind the scenes, they talk, and they know we may not always agree with their decisions, but we know that they're not just pulling it out of a hat, we'll say, which seems to be what Justice Jackson is doing. Manhattan Institute's Ela Shapiro said that should be a separate descriptor of an opinion. Concurring, dissenting, expressing exasperation with Justice Jackson. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. I don't think there's any kind of shame for Justice Jackson in pushing her agenda. Anyway, speaking of the Supreme Court, Trump is going to attend the Supreme Court's oral arguments on birthright citizenships. I'm going, he said, in the case, it's actually today. I think so. I do believe, because I've listened to this argument for so long. Chinese billionaires and billionaires from other countries who all of a sudden have 75 children or 59 children in one case, or 10 children, become American citizens. The 14th Amendment was about slaves. All of this legislation, all of this having to do with birthright citizenship, it was at the end of the Civil War. The reason was it had to do with the babies of slaves and the protection of the babies of slaves. It didn't have anything to do with the protection of multimillionaires and billionaires wanting to have their children getting American citizenship. It is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Now, political commentator and former Obama official Van Jones was on CNN. He said, first of all, Donald Trump is doing the wrong thing at the wrong time in the wrong place for the wrong reason, as usual. The President of the United States has no business being in the Supreme Court. We have a separation of powers for a reason. It's not just unprecedented. It's unwise, it's unbecoming, and it's unfair for someone who appointed people to the bench to be sitting there mad-dogging them, trying to get his way. This is a terrible idea. It's a terrible argument. You know, my children were born here in the United States. 2 of them, their mom is from Mexico. They are American citizens, period. Point blank, end of story. And the fact that the President of the United States wants to step on people's rights, step on people's dignity, and tell people that they don't belong here. These kids belong here, and when they're born here, and he does not belong at the Supreme Court. Network senior legal analyst Ellie Honig says, so I think Van is going to come out on the right side of the law here. Anyway. Also yesterday, it was a busy Trump day. We haven't even talked about Iran yet, other than the fact there will be that address to the nation tonight at 9 by the president. But Trump signed an order directing the creation of a national voter list. Needless to say, a move that's already facing lawsuit threats. The order, which voting law experts say violates the Constitution by attempting to seize states' power to run elections, is the latest in a torrent of efforts from Trump to interfere with the way Americans vote based on his false allegations of fraud. Who's this from? The Associated Press. Typical media here. The order signed Tuesday calls on the Department of Homeland Security, working in conjunction with the Social Security Administration, to make the list of eligible voters in each state. It also seeks to bar the U.S. Postal Service from sending absentee ballots to those not on each state's approved list. Trump is also calling for ballots to have secure envelopes with unique barcodes for tracking. According to the executive order, federal funding could be withheld from states and localities that don't comply. Quote, the cheating on mail-in voting is legendary. It's horrible what's going on, Trump said, repeating the false allegations about mail ballots as he signed the order. I think this will help a lot with elections. Well, it's good that it's not dripping with bias. Thank you, Associated Press. Representative Gregory Meeks from right here in New York said the president is trying to do what I call, as an African-American, Jim Crow 2.0. Is Meeks taking credit for that? I mean, I wonder who came up with it first, because everybody's repeating it, and it always seems like they start the sentence by saying, as I call it. A lot of people in the Democrat Party got the talking point and are calling it that. As a matter of fact, it got almost, I hate to use the term cringeworthy, but when Chuck Schumer used it so much. So I'm wondering who came up with it first, because it is being repeated by every Democrat who then makes it sound like they came up with it. The president is trying to do what I call as an African-American Jim Crow 2.0, preventing individuals from voting and putting up all kinds of obstacles for people. Almost 30-40% of the country, a lot of women, will now have obstacles to voting because if they're using their husband's name, they would not have their maiden names on their new identification, on their driver's license, which is not going to be legal. Their birth certificate will not match their current name. People will not be able to afford to buy a passport because you look at 30 to 40% of Americans don't own passports now. Is everything 30 or 40%? At the time period that you can't get one will probably make you ineligible to vote in this election. Why is he doing this? It's because his favorability rating is down under 40% by a big margin, and he's dragging down all the Republicans with him in the House and in the Senate. And so he's trying to steal an election by making it so that people can't vote. But that's not going to do, I don't think that's going to see the light of day. So that's more of the SAVE Act. I was thinking it was in reference to that executive order that the president signed. We've got more updates, more things to talk about when we return. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
It's the home of creativity. Release your inner audio engineer. Create with the 3D printer. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine rentals. Or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to your local library today.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
When you spend 100 years building chainsaws, you get really good at building chainsaws. So when Steel built the mower, we built the chainsaw mowers. New blade, same bloodline.
Can you help me?
Mom, Dad, we're going out.
Thank you.
Oh, look, they're playing chess.
What you got there?
Will you help my mom?
She's real sick, huh? Hey, crew, I'll give the first move to anyone who signs up to be an organ donor. How do you do it?
Easy. Just go to organdonor.gov.
You heard them, organdonor.gov.
More donors means more hope. Sign up at organ.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Market Street in Corning. Comment from a viewer. Yeah, and I got a couple people saying this. By the way, good morning to you too. Isn't it interesting that judges get involved in the ballroom and NPR? But they never got involved when King Biden decreed that only black women need to apply for the last Supreme Court justice seat. Yeah, it was really, and this goes back to the identity politics that so many people talk about. And I had a bunch of other people write similar. That's why it really backfired overall, because you had Biden saying things like that, and it made people just same with the hiring on college campuses. It's not that it was supposed to be about who the best candidate was, but it became about the DEI policies. But no, the judges didn't get involved with really anything with Biden. But boy, they are quick to go after President Trump. Hey, by the way, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth yesterday, you can tell us this is coming from the New York Times. You can tell because they didn't call him War Secretary of War. Pete Hegseth on Tuesday abruptly reversed the suspension of Army crews that piloted 2 Apache helicopters close to Kid Rock's residence in Nashville. Yeah, they had suspended those pilots. That was reported early in the day. Pete Hegseth came back in and reversed the suspension. Earlier on Tuesday, a spokesman said that the crew members involved have been barred from flight duties a day after the Army began an inquiry into videos of the flyover. But Pete Hegseth appeared to end both the suspensions and the investigation with a social media post saying, "No punishment, no investigation, carry on, Patriots." This is the kind of thing that drives the media crazy. Hegseth's post came on the same day that President Trump told reporters at the White House that the crew members probably should not have been doing it. "You're not supposed to be playing games, right? I will take a look at it. They like Kid Rock. I like Kid Rock. Maybe they were trying to defend him." Hegseth has also repeatedly clashed with the Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll over personnel and administrative decisions. Okay. Yeah, I said we were going to go through some things quickly. Yesterday, President and the First Lady received a standing ovation at the opening night of Chicago at Trump Kennedy Center. The first couple waved at the crowd before taking their seats in the presidential box. The night out marks the first time together at the Trump Kennedy Center since the premiere of the First Lady's documentary, Melania, in January. The president also attended opening night of Les Miserables at the Performing Arts venue last summer. All right. J.D. Vance, right ahead of Easter, Vice President J.D. Vance announced a new book set for release in June, tracing his return to Christianity and conversion to Catholicism, following his best-selling smash hit back in 2016, Hillbilly Elegy. He said, "I've been writing this book for a long time, and I'm honored to finally be able to share the full story with you all. Communion is about my personal journey and how I find my way back to faith. It will be available in June, but you can pre-order today." So the book is actually called Communion, just not to create any confusion. It is an intimate account of why Vance drifted from the Christianity of his youth and what led him back to his faith. Described as a spiritual exploration of being a Christian through each stage of his life, as a child, young man, husband, father, and leader, the book is in some ways picks up where Hillbilly Elegy left off. It recounts how Vance's pursuit of material privileges led him into a secular wilderness before he regained his faith, converted to Catholicism, and came to see that faith as guiding both his work in public and his thoughts about his future. Vance was baptized and received into his Catholic church in Cincinnati back in 2019 after more than 3 years of studying. So there you go, a new book coming out in June about J.D. Vance's faith. Should be interesting. I know I said we were going to go through a lot of things. I'm doing good, right? Yeah, okay. Hey, if you want to talk about this Kristi Noem thing, I'm more than happy to. Not what I expected as a breaking story yesterday, not something I thought we'd be discussing. Kristi Noem is weighed in on the report that her husband lives kind of a cross-dressing double life. The photos are out there. I wouldn't recommend you go searching for them. Noem's representative, at first I thought it was just one of these, far left sites or some doctored photos. But it didn't take long for Kristi Noem to release a statement saying, "Miss Noem is devastated. The family was blindsided by this, and they asked for privacy and prayers at this time." According to reports, Bryant Noem chatted up with women about this certain I don't want to get into all this. And into a certain lifestyle, we'll put it that way, where he just happened to like women that achieved what, quote, is a Barbie doll-like appearance. Again, I don't want to go into it. Now, Trump did respond to it as well. Where is it? Trump told the Daily Mail he did not know about the photos and was surprised the Noem family confirmed their authenticity. They confirmed it? Wow, well, I feel badly for the family if that's the case. That's too bad. I haven't seen anything. I don't know anything about it. That's too bad, but I just know nothing about it. Now, I guess the major concern of why it is a news story or why we're bringing it up here is because what they're saying is the kind of the national security implications, if people were using this as a blackmail type thing, or who was he talking to and talking about what. I'm sure we'll hear more about it in the future because we know the media loves to, especially at a vulnerable moment like this, attack Kristi Noem. As I mentioned on last week's broadcast, I think It's best that she's out of DHS, if I'm being honest, not because of this, just in general. But of course, we wish her no ill will, or her family no ill will. But that was not what I expected yesterday. We have a couple other quick oddball stories. I know. We still have to talk about Iran, and I've got probably almost the whole next hour to talk about New York. As I mentioned, if you are just joining us, we had to reschedule with Doc Possum, but we look forward to having him on soon, and I'll let you know when we reschedule. On Friday's broadcast, we will be talking to Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski, so get your questions in for him. We know that he is a fan favorite current assemblyman, former congressman, and current chair of the Steuben County GOP. All right, let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Looking for a meaningful day trip close to home? Visit the historic Elmira Prison Camp, one of the most significant Civil War sites in the North. Walk the grounds, stand where history happened, discover powerful stories of courage, sacrifice, and survival that shaped our nation. Whether you're a history enthusiast, a family looking to learn together, or simply exploring the Finger Lakes region, we offer an experience you won't forget. Plan your visit today at elmiracivilwar.org. Preserve, discover, remember.
Yeah, hello. I'm really not sure if this is what you all do, but I really don't have anywhere else to turn.
Hi. I don't even know why I'm calling right now. I'm sorry. My thoughts are going a mile a minute.
My kids are out of state. My buddies from the Army are all gone now. I'm really alone.
I left the service last year. My mom just passed away a few months ago. I miss so much time with her. I keep getting calls about the bills, and I'm trying to get a job, but I feel so stuck.
Okay, ma'am. I'm glad you called.
Okay, sir. Let's stay on the line and walk through some things.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Morning after that wet stretch yesterday and last night. Some lingering shower chances today. Temperature high of 57. That's falling through the day with cooler air moving in behind that departing system. Now bottoming out tonight in mid-30s towards low 40s to our south. And then we'll see a return of 60s on Thursday. Notice additional shower chances. 70s Friday and Saturday. Cooler at the start of next week on the other side of Easter rain.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's get to some viewer comments. Okay, sorry. One got an update right as I was. Okay, there we go. OSB plywood was $25 per sheet. It is now $9.71 thanks to tariffs. Glad I held out on buying more OSB. Now these prices I can afford and get a lot more accomplished. So there we go. Thank you very much. Trump is working out those tariff deals, and our lumber's getting cheaper. Prices are going down. Great. Comment from a different viewer. DEI and woke ideologies are solely responsible for dumbing down America, or Americans, period. Thank you. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I'm no longer wondering. I think I'm living in the twilight zone. Just when I think you've heard it all. Yeah, the Kristi Noem story. I think to Trump's point, the fact that she had essentially authenticated it, I don't want to get into soap opera stuff, and I had other people comment, but we know there's the rumors about Noem and Lewandowski. Is this, and then there was sources that said that he, in his religious beliefs, would never divorce her. So did she authenticate it? You know what I mean? You can get into all that kind of soap opera drama, but I was surprised when she authenticated it so quickly. All right, Ken writes in, I just had an epiphany on why the Democrats all have the same talking points. You mentioned that all of them are taking credit for Taco, and in the past, they haven't shared any information on aliens that may have visited Earth. What if the Democrats are aliens, where all of them are mentally connected to each other in some sort of huge collective, like ants? Well, one knows they all know. Hillary and Kamala might be queens. Schumer and Hakeem might be protectors of the queen. And the sheeple are workers. It explains a lot. Thank you, Ken. Going sci-fi this morning. It's just something about, and listen, both sides do it, but there's something about the political words that people throw around like it's the first time you ever heard it. One that gets really old around election season is apparently James Carville's old statement. It's economy stupid. Someone will say that like they're teaching you a lesson like you've never heard it before. Nothing burger is thrown around a lot. It kind of falls harsh on my ears. We could keep going through that. It's just quickly off the top of my head. But now we have taco that people are acting like they're the first ones that ever used it, or Jim Crow 2.0. Everybody's taking credit for. Just some of these that I'm trying to think of more. I had one just a second ago. Now it escaped my mind. But where you hear the commentators say it and you go, well, this isn't anything new. You're not some political genius. You're just stealing what somebody else had and using it for yourself. I don't know. I don't get it. All right, quickly as an update from yesterday, remember the New York Post just opened the California Post. You'd never guess where, California. Well, they have an editorial board as well. Eric Swallow wants the Jeffrey Epstein files released, just not the Fang files. That's a really good point. That's what caught my attention about this. We're not going to go too far down this rabbit hole. But back in September, Swallow, who looks to be the frontrunner in the gubernatorial race in California, grilled FBI Director Kash Patel, accusing him of covering up for Donald Trump without any evidence of wrongdoing by the president. Quote, if the president is not implicated, then why not release everything? Which that's such a cheap way of doing that. That's like saying everybody else in the files, never mind them. It's only about one person. Patel replied that the FBI had released everything that it could under the law, and that wasn't good enough for Swallow. But now, all of a sudden, Swallow doesn't like the idea of the FBI releasing files. Yeah, what changed? That's because this time, the files involved documents about Christine Fang, or Fang, an alleged Chinese spy who reportedly had a relationship with Swallow. He had his lawyer send a cease and desist letter to Patel and is threatening to sue, accusing the FBI of a horrendous abuse of power and a smear campaign. His lawyers claim that Swallow had never been accused of wrongdoing in the Fang affair. So what? If we apply the same principle to the Fang files that Swallow tried to apply to the Jeffrey Epstein files, then the FBI should release everything it has, and we should assume the worst about anyone trying to stop it, right? That's why I've said before, and I don't want to talk too much about Swallow, but that's why I've said before, he thinks he's a lot smarter than he is, right? And we see that over and over again. If you ever get bored, just watch that hearing where Ben Shapiro just destroyed him to the point where he was kind of tripping over his own tongue, not prepared for that kind of just huge defeat by Ben Shapiro, really. But again, this is why he steps in it, because it's all okay for the Epstein files, but when the files are regarding him, an alleged relationship with a Chinese spy, things change. And again, I like this line. If we apply the same principle to the Fang files that Swallow tried to apply to the Jeffrey Epstein files, then the FBI should release everything it has. And we should assume the worst about anyone trying to stop it. Swallow is also upset about a federal investigation into his D.C. mortgage, which he borrowed for a primary residence in the capital while also claiming to be a California resident. And no doubt he is also upset that people are scrutinizing the California resident, which appears to consist of a single room in the home of a political ally. Yeah, we haven't reported on that in a while. That should have been a bigger story. Swallow feels he is being singled out for political purposes. Quote, Donald Trump and Kash Patel do not get to pick the next governor. Californians do. He's right. Politicians from the opposing party should not be able to pick who is eligible to run for office. Wouldn't it be nice if Swallow had followed his own advice? Swallow and then Representative Adam Schiff abused their position on the House Intelligence Committee to investigate President Trump with the goal of impeaching him. Schiff and the Democrats called witnesses in a secret room in Capitol where other members of Congress and the general public could not see what was going on. The committee would leak claims about testimony which often contradicted by the actual transcripts of the deposition. Then after auditioning witnesses, Schiff only let some of them testify in public. Those he felt would make best the case against overturning the 2016 election and removing Trump from office. Also, in the course of that investigation, the House spied on the phone calls of various Trump associates, including his lawyer and Kash Patel. Swallow was later one of the House managers for Trump's second impeachment, which was an unconstitutional attempt to bar a former president from running for office. Now that shoe is on the other foot, Whether or not the FBI releases the Fang files, Swalwell may finally be learning what everyone deserves: equal protection under the law. All right. Also, since we're talking weirdness, before we take another break, Don Lemon, the former CNN anchor, I read a story the other day that because of his storming of that church, he's become famous again, which I don't know if I agree with that. But Don Lemon addressed whether he would ever consider running for president. Do I ever think about it? Yes. Could it happen? Yeah, it could happen if the opportunity presented itself. The right opportunity presented itself. Look, if I wanted to, I know people are going to think I'm crazy. This is going to be the headline, and people are going to laugh about it. I think I could be president of the United States. I could definitely run this country better than Donald Trump. Now, isn't that... is anybody actually calling for him to run, or is this just him? Lemon said that he currently doesn't have any interest in running for office, arguing that it would ruin his life, and point out that the white male candidates get away with far more than female or minority ones. Okay, there you go. Don Lemon thinks that people are wanting him to run for president. We got a couple other things before we get to Iran and New York State issues. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this. There it is.
You deserve primary care that connects. Care that helps you move forward. Care that connects you to world-class specialists. Care that connects you to providers who are part of your community. And care that connects you to the life you love. Because great healthcare comes from providers who care about connection just like you. Find your primary care appointment at centralishealth.org/schedule.
We are the keepers of the wild, America's original and most invested conservationists. For more than 80 years, we've been committed to conserving wildlife and the natural landscapes that define our nation. From rugged alpine ridgelines to peaceful tall grass prairies, we've supported the conservation of more than 36 million acres of American wildlands. Our funding has led to cleaner water, fresher air, and improved wildlife habitat. From abundant fish and waterfowl populations to robust deer and elk herds, nothing is more important than maintaining wild spaces for adventurers to explore and wildlife to thrive. We are America's hunters and target shooters, stewards of the American outdoors.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Going to some viewer comments. If Kristi Noem was a Democrat, there would be nothing to see in regards to her husband. That's a very good point. It would not be, you would only find it on conservative outlets, right? And even then, maybe not. So that you raised a very good point on that. Comment from a different viewer. All right, Lemon for president 2028. Headlines will read, Republicans win with 100% of the vote. Go Lemon, please run. That's a very good point. Jack says, people are wondering what happens to the Republican Party and President Trump. The answer is simple. The Democrats are like a virus acting in unison to infect their host for complete control. If you don't believe it, look at New York politics. Look at the way COVID was operated and used by Cuomo. Then, like a virus, they mutate and turn benign on their own. You know, and going back to what you're saying about New York, too, about New York politics, look at Bruce Blakeman, which we mentioned at the top of the hour, denied matching funding. Why? Because he has an R next to his name. And the polls are better for him, but it's not as if he's still double digits. That's how they demand the full control, to Jack's point. Okay, before we get into the real important stuff, I don't know if this interests you at all, probably not. Nancy Pelosi revealed in an interview Monday that she and Joe Biden had spoken following a lengthy feud between the two, because the way she stabbed Biden in the back. Wow. So on MSN Now, Pelosi was asked whether she factored Biden's campaign exit into her own legacy, saying, "I think many people credit you or blame you for the way that campaign ended." She said, "Well, I don't know. How can I say this in a nice way? The Biden administration accomplished great things. People compared him to LBJ in terms of the amount and the quality and quantity of his accomplishments. The only thing I asked the president to do were two things. I get more credit or blame than I deserve in that. And that is that I wanted him to have other pollsters at the table than just listening to one. And B, what? Okay, that's weird. Okay, and B, I wanted him to assure the public that he could serve the term. They didn't agree with that, and so he then decided to step aside. It was his decision." They said at MS Now, "Have you spoken with Biden?" "Yes, we have. I'd rather it'll be up to him to tell people when we spoke." Ooh. So it may not have went well. Anyway. Also speaking, because you think of Pelosi, you think of the old guard, Chuck Schumer. He faces discontent from Democrats running for the Senate coming from the Hill. Boy, there's an article like this almost, once a month. You can tell they want Schumer out. Dissatisfaction is emerging with Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer among Democrats running for Senate seats in this year's election. The question of backing Schumer as Democratic leader has become a new litmus test, with several candidates, even in purple and red states, pushing for a changing of the guard. Illinois Senate Democratic nominee Lieutenant Governor Julianne Stratton said, "I've already said that I will not support Chuck Schumer as leader in the Senate. I'm the only person on the stage that said so. Though Schumer is unlikely to face any real threat to his leadership post after November, the discontent has spotlighted the party's lingering battle over its direction." Yeah, this is one of those things, because it was like with Pelosi. Excuse me. With Nancy Pelosi, she would have a bad, disastrous election year, and you'd say, well, that's it for Nancy, and they'd still unify all around her. I don't see Schumer going out. I think this is just an opportunity for them to show that there's younger people, because I think many in the media do want younger people. I think they want an AOC in there. But I'm not going to go through any more of that. It's just interesting that we're getting those stories about once a month now about the dissatisfaction. Okay. How are we doing? Oh, got to take a break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
What a day. Rock and roll, let's go!
If you want an experience that wakes you up, a place where you can scream to your heart's delight, go ahead. No one will hear you anyway.
Yeah, let's go, baby!
Here, you don't just watch. You feel. Come as you are and have a damn good time. That rumble you hear, that growl you feel, that's us.
Hell yeah, boys!
Yo, dear coach. Dear coach, they don't teach you that inner strength is the most important kind of strong. But you taught me that.
They don't teach you how to build confidence in yourself or how to deal with all the pressures all at once. But you taught me that.
First tee was more than golf. It's where I discovered what I'm capable of. You didn't just prepare me for 18 holes. You were preparing me for every day of my life. Learn more at firsttee.org.
Morning after that wet stretch yesterday and last night, some lingering shower chances today. Temperature high of 57. That's falling through the day with cooler air moving in behind that departing system. Now bottoming out tonight in mid-30s towards low 40s to our south, and then we'll see a return of 60s on Thursday. Notice additional shower chances. 70s Friday and Saturday, cooler at the start of next week on the other side of Easter rain.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Go to a couple viewer comments. Mark says, Pelosi saying Biden did great things for the country is an all-and-out lie. He was not even mentally competent to do anything. I agree, Mark. But that's them rewriting history. Remember, wasn't it Pelosi who said that he should be on the Mount Rushmore, or should be on Mount Rushmore? It's just rewriting history, and the media will go right along with it, and people will start to believe it after a few years. Comment from a different viewer. The Democrats love to talk about an authoritarian government, but they totally overlook New York State and others and ignore the Dems' proclivity for closed-door meetings for an anti-transparent government. Go figure. Yeah. Isn't that interesting how that works? Good comment from a different viewer. Good morning. It's opening day. Why not on the river? Take a day for yourself. You deserve a day. Well, thank you. Why are you not on the river? I do appreciate that. Good luck. I should say that. I should start the program with that. But good luck to everyone out there fishing this morning. Maybe you're somehow watching on your cell phone. We do appreciate it. Comment from a different viewer. Just curious, and I'm sure you know the answer, but did Don Lemon ever face any charges? Yeah, with that I think wasn't it FACE Act? FACE law? That's still ongoing. The legal mechanism of that is still ongoing, as we seem to say too many times on this program, where who knows how long it'll take. But last I knew, nothing had changed in that, and it was still ongoing. And it seems like it would have been mentioned in that piece if anything had changed. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Man, everybody being so friendly this morning. I don't think you can overlook the role of technology and smartphones in the dumbing down of Americans, nor the teachers union. I would agree totally. I would agree with that. All right, how we doing? All right, just another quick update on the media, and then we're going to move along. What started as a shutdown face-off between Republicans and Democrats has morphed into a full display of disunity between GOP leaders just months ahead of the midterm elections. Senate Majority Leader John Thune's decision to leave immigration enforcement funding out of the deal with Democrats to reopen the Department of Homeland Security, and the House GOP's revolt over the deal has shattered the fragile party unity that has been crucial to President Trump's second term. How much of this is wishful thinking, by the way, by the media? And I'm not saying things are perfect. We know that. We've known that for a long time within the Republican Party. But this seems like projection, wanting it to be that way. Now Republicans are running Washington during the longest ever shutdown of DHS with no path out, while their unifier, Trump, is consumed by a Middle East war that threatens even more problems for Congress this year. Anyway, why did I end the hour on that? In the next hour, we're going to talk about Iran. We've got to talk about New York State updates. Today, in theory, we should have a budget. Excuse me. We do not. We will not have a budget. I'm hearing best case scenario, mid-May. Again, the budget due today. Also, as I mentioned, we had to reschedule with Doc Possum, but we'll get him back on again soon. I'll keep you updated. And also, just for fun, today is the 2-year anniversary of the first time we went to 2 hours on this broadcast. Imagine right now it'd all be done. And we still have that much paperwork to get to. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking, hour number 2 after this.
Don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Watch news from the Twin Tiers and catch local events on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, these entrepreneurs started out with a dream and the drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
And welcome to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Mark writes in, I'd be out fishing, but the creeks are too high due to all the rain. But I got some night walkers this morning before your show. Okay, well, if you do go out, send pictures. I love when people send pictures, like deer season fishing. I love it. Comment from a different viewer. Congrats on your anniversary, Frank. I enjoy your show. Well, thank you. That means a lot to me. Look. Oh, I knew it wasn't going to be in the picture. Remember, I got flowers for the 3-year anniversary. Well, I got flowers for now the 2-year anniversary of being on for what? For 2 hours. For 2 hours for 2 years. There we go. Sorry, I got distracted trying to get that in the angle. Those are the same balloons. But they have survived that long. I say they're doing pretty good. I don't know why I didn't just... Yeah, they're doing pretty good. All right. Comment from a different viewer. I'm not fighting for a spot on the river. I wait a few days. I do not blame you. I do not blame you. It's kind of rainy morning. But yeah, I'd like to see pictures from out there. Comment from a different viewer. Pete Hegseth is a class act. He totally understands the rank and file. I've got to say, that move that he made to unsuspend those pilots... You know, the media hates it. Anti-Trump people hate it. We get that. But the message that sends to our military that, you know, hey, we get it. You like Kid Rock, okay? Yeah, you shouldn't have done it. But this isn't... and even Trump saying, it probably wasn't right. We'll look into it. But come on. Anyway. Trump is going to address the nation regarding the update on the Iran war. I know I announced this in the 6 o'clock hour, but if you are just joining us, Carolyn Levitt said on a X post, tomorrow night at 9 p.m., President Trump will give an address to the nation to provide an important update on Iran. In a thread on X, where is this? CBS's News, Weijie Zhang said that the United States Operation Epic Fury is 2 weeks ahead of schedule. Oh, Trump said that to her. I'm sorry. Or said that to... I don't watch CBS News. So Zhang added that Trump told her not much else has to happen between now and declaring victory. Now, the U.S. is deploying the 3rd aircraft carrier, the USS George H.W. Bush, to the Middle East as Iran war rumbles on. PXF announced that yesterday. The news came after the Bush Carrier Group departed from its base in Norfolk, Virginia, and what Navy Times initially reported was a pre-scheduled deployment. It will join 2 other aircraft carrier groups already in the Middle East, the USS Gerald Ford in the Mediterranean Sea and the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea. I don't know what I think about this headline. Pope Leo in rare direct Trump comment as he makes Iran war plea. Well, he spoke out against the Trump administration a lot, but I guess this is a direct plea to the president. That's why they say in rare, because it's not really rare. He said, I'm told that President Trump had recently stated that he would like to end the war. Hopefully he's looking for an off-ramp. Hopefully he's looking for a way to decrease the amount of violence. Okay. Trump says the U.S. will exit Iran in 2 to 3 weeks. We'll leave because there's no reason for us to do this. He said about securing the strait, he said, look, the problem with that strait, a guy can take a mine, drop it in the water and say, oh, it's unsafe. It's not like you're taking out an army or you're taking out a country. He can drop it and he can take a machine gun from the shore and shoot a few bullets at a ship or maybe an over-the-shoulder missile, small missiles. That's not for us. That'll be for France. That'll be for whoever is using the strait. But I think when we leave, probably that's all cleared up. We're negotiating with them right now. Again, we have had regime change. Now, regime change was not one of the things I had as a goal. I had one goal. They will have no nuclear weapon, and that goal has been attained. They will not have a nuclear weapon. But we're finishing the job, I think within maybe 2 weeks, maybe a couple of days longer to do the job, but we want to knock out every single thing they have. Now, it is possible that we'll make a deal before that because we'll hit bridges and we'll hit some bridges. We got a couple nice bridges in mind, but they come to the table, that'll be good. Now, Trump did lash out at our quote-unquote allies yesterday, telling them to go get your own oil. The president said the military could end its offensive in 2 to 3 weeks and that the U.S. will not have anything to do with what happens next in the Strait. There's no reason for us to do this. That's not for us. That'll be for France. That'll be for whoever is using the Strait. He also told the Post, the New York Post, we're not going to be out there too much longer. We're obliterating the blank out of them right now. It's a total obliteration. The Pentagon revealed yesterday that 11,000 targets were bombed in 32 days. Trump said, we won't have to be there much longer, but we have more work to do in terms of killing their whatever offensive capabilities they have left. After trading ended for the day, Trump told reporters that he expected the war to end in maybe 2 weeks, maybe a couple of days longer, as I mentioned. Now, Trump officials acknowledge that they can't promise to reopen the Strait of Hormuz before ending the Iran war. But Trump's point is that it's not our job. We're not the one using it. Inside the White House, many top officials recognize that reopening the oil choke point controlled by Tehran is a critical goal, not only for ending the war, but also for bringing down soaring oil and gas prices, which are quickly shaping up to be a key liability for Republicans ahead of November's midterm elections. How many things this year so far do you think has been deemed a, quote, key liability for Republicans? If you had to guess, I wonder what the over-under on that would be. Because it just seems like everything. Key liability. Anyway, enough on that. Iran's parliament did approve a plan to impose a toll on ships sailing through the Strait of Hormuz, and it's already charging up to $2 million per vessel. The bill to impose transit fees on all ships traveling through the choke point in the Persian Gulf was approved by the Iranian parliament's National Security and Foreign Policy Committee, according to state media. The move is an attempt to enforce Tehran's sovereign role in the waterway, the state-controlled Islamic Republic of Iran broadcasting reported. All right. Now, Marco Rubio, let's face it, he's doing a great job. I can't run too fast here. I know I want to get to New York State issues, but I don't want to run too fast. Secretary of State Marco Rubio questioned the value of NATO Tuesday night after European allies blocked the U.S. military from using their bases and airspace to launch attacks on Iran. Rubio, who recalled that as a senator he was one of the strongest defenders of NATO, told Sean Hannity that membership in the transatlantic alliance would be re-examined after the Iran war. If now we have reached a point where the NATO alliance means we can't use those bases to defend America's interests, then NATO is a one-way street. I would agree. If NATO is simply about us having troops in Europe to defend Europe, but when we need them to allow us to use their military base, their answer is no, then why are we in NATO? He said the decision over whether the U.S. remains in NATO will ultimately be made by President Trump. And Trump has been a longtime critic of NATO. So what's your thoughts on that? You know, and I think Marco Rubio, this is why he's been so effective lately, really from the jump, and so many people like him. Because he says it in layman's terms, but he's exactly right. If we can't even use their base when it's in our interest, then what is really the NATO alliance? Are we just paying for other countries' defenses? What is the answer here? I think it's a fair question that has to be raised when this is all over. Rubio said, so I think there's no doubt, unfortunately, after this conflict is concluded, we're going to have to re-examine that relationship. Now, last week, you recall, Trump described the war against Tehran as a loyalty test and ripped Europeans for failing to step up. And what did he say? Something like about reopening the Strait, basically telling NATO, get delayed courage. Was that what it is? Delayed strength, something like that. The president has signaled that the responsibility for ensuring the safe passage of ships in the Strait of Hormuz may soon fall solely on Europe. You have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done. Go get your own oil. I gotta say, I don't disagree with it at this point. I mean, when you see, I know there's a lot of people that hate Trump, but when you see almost a celebration too by those on the left who love it when some country will come out and say you can't use our base, I mean, boy, there is just that. I know, Trump derangement syndrome, I think that term is probably used too much. It's a conversation we've been having all morning, but at the same time, it's proven day in and day out. Meanwhile, ahead of Trump's planned primetime address tonight, Rubio signaled that the U.S. can see the finish line. We were going to destroy their Air Force. We have largely done that. We were going to destroy their Navy, which we have largely achieved. We're going to destroy a significant percentage of their missile launchers. We are well on our way to achieving that. And we are going to wipe out their defense industrial base, meaning the factories that make the drones and the missiles. We are on our way to doing that. We are ahead of schedule on each of those objectives, and we can see the finish line. It's not today, it's not tomorrow, but it is coming. Marco Rubio also warns Iran wanted to be the next North Korea as he sees a finish line in the conflict. They were aiming to become the next North Korea, except not a North Korea run by a regime that is troublesome and hard to understand, but an Iran run by radical Shia clerics with intercontinental missiles that could reach the mainland of the U.S. eventually. That's what they would have ultimately achieved, had President Trump not taken these steps that he's taken. He accused Iran's regime of misleading the public about its ballistic missiles capabilities, saying officials denied their missiles could reach as far as London. Abbas Araghchi, their foreign minister, this guy is a liar. This guy was on television like 2 weeks ago, denying that Iran had any missiles that could go beyond a certain limitation. Trump has recently said that the Iran conflict could last only a few more weeks. We can see the finish line. It's not today, it's not tomorrow, but it's coming. Rubio also signaled progress in talks with Iran, noting that while Tehran remains publicly defiant, its officials are being more cooperative in private discussions. But he said President Trump will not be strung along like the Biden administration. What President Trump is not going to allow is he's not going to allow fake negotiations to be used as a delay tactic to buy more time, to buy themselves space. We're not going to allow the failures of talks to impede our ability to defend this country and protect this country from a real threat. This is a regime led by people who believe that it is their calling and their purpose in life to usher the end of the world. These people want nuclear weapons. And then he also reiterated that he was going to re-examine whether or not this alliance, meaning NATO, that has served this country well for a while, is still serving the purpose, or has it now become a one-way street where America is simply in a position to defend Europe? But when we need the help of our allies, they're going to deny us basing rights? All right, your thoughts on that? We got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here at WYDC TV, Big Fox.
At William Mattar, they only handle motor vehicle accident cases.
No, I'm not going to take any lowball offers.
There's nothing William loves more than fighting for his clients and giving them the big money they deserve.
Okay, wow.
But everyone needs an outlet, a chance to get away from it all.
Heads bowed, eyes closed, and now go to your happy place.
Rideshare truck, motorcycle, car, only call William Mattar.
Did you know that children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality? And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at IQAirFoundation.org.
Good morning. After that wet stretch yesterday and last night, some lingering shower chances today. Temperature high of 57. That's falling through the day with cooler air moving in behind that departing system. Now bottoming out tonight in mid-30s towards low 40s to our south, and then we'll see a return of 60s on Thursday. Notice additional shower chances. 70s Friday and Saturday, cooler at the start of next week on the other side of Easter rain.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. You can see it's a little rainy morning with that kaleidoscope-like view of the Gaffer District. And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hasselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments. Chuck Schumer, like other Democrats and Republicans, have been consumed by the swamp. He can't leave. Yeah, it's going to be like, cause remember when Nancy Pelosi, she would have those disastrous years, and they still all rallied around her. So it's news fodder, but that's about all it's worth. Okay, comment from a different viewer. A message to all Democrats. Quit crying, go get your crayons and coloring book, sit in a corner and try to stay in the lines. Okay, thank you very much. Different comment. We should get out of NATO and form a new union comprised of our true friends and allies. Yeah, I mean, it was almost like they did it with glee to rub it in our face after all the years of help and support. It was almost, they'd rather make the headline of going against Trump. It was very frustrating. Ken writes in, I'm not sure how accurate this information is. It's the best I could find online regarding nationwide judicial injunctions on the last few presidential administrations. Bush had 14. Obama, both terms, had 19. Trump's first term, 55. Biden's first 3 years, 14. And Trump's second term, first 100 days, 86. Something has to be done to rein in activist judges that hampers the will of the people and costs taxpayers billions of dollars. I agree. You know, it reminds me, we were talking about the Supreme Court, right? And we're talking about Justice Jackson, that even she went so far left, even her own far left fellow justices exonerate, and I always use that word wrong, went after her, questioned her about how extreme she had become with that. She is no different than the judges that we've been talking about this morning that said it's unconstitutional or that it's attack on the First Amendment not to give taxpayer money to NPR and PBS. Explain that one to me. Or the judge that said, well, you got to stop building the ballroom. I mean, and that's just two examples this morning. It got kind of tedious and boring to bring up every example of a judge, an activist judge going against the Trump administration. And you're right, it cost a lot of money, Ken. But the Justice Jackson, she would be in one of these positions where they believe, because she thought with the Supreme Court she was more powerful than the Constitution, she thinks she's obviously more powerful than the president. That's what we're seeing at even the lower levels of the court. They know better than the president. It's kind of like some of the people, unfortunately, that were in Trump's administration the first term. They know better than the president. Therefore, they know better than the American people that voted for them, for him, that they should really be in charge, that they're the ones that really should be leading the country. I mean, the ego and the narcissism. But we see it just time and time again, and it is. I agree with you, Ken. It's expensive. It's time-consuming. It's tedious. Whatever words you want to use. All right. Coming from a different viewer, Mark says, as we pay more into NATO more than any other country, and for them to turn their backs on us, I say get rid of NATO. They're not in our best interest. I think there's going to be a definite examination into the future of NATO because it's unacceptable, really, at this point. It's not as if they were even saying we don't want to get involved in the war. They said we couldn't use their bases. That's extreme. Now, the U.S.'s bunker busters entombed Iran's uranium avoiding high-risk operation, according to analysis. The recent massive U.S. strike near Iran's central city of Isfahan likely sought to render Tehran's remaining highly enriched uranium stockpile inaccessible by burying it deep underground, a strategy that would negate the need for a prolonged and risky U.S. ground operation to extract the material. Writing in Ynet on Tuesday, Israeli military analyst Ron Ben Yeshai assessed that the strike reflects a deliberate U.S. effort to neutralize Iran's enriched uranium stockpile by entombing it beneath rock, soil, and collapsed tunnel infrastructure rather than attempting to remove it by force. It began with what he described as one of the central unresolved issues of the conflict. Iran's remaining stockpile of roughly 440 kilograms, about 970 pounds, of uranium enriched to 60%, material that could be further enriched to weapons grade level within weeks and potentially yield enough fissile cores for up to 11 nuclear bombs. Okay. One last thing on this, and then we do got to move on to New York State issues. And I haven't even had a chance yet this morning to see if there's any breaking news, but we'll look at that in a little bit. Oh, there it is. Since we're talking about it, I thought there was something that I saw this morning. President Trump said he's strongly considering pulling the U.S. out of NATO after the alliance failed to get behind Washington's operation in Iran. He branded the defense pact a paper tiger. You know, this was the repercussions for them deciding not to let us use their base. And I don't think they're going to like what happens if they're out of NATO. Maybe they form their own, but there's a lot of money that we're paying for a lot of countries' defenses. Trump told The Telegraph the transatlantic alliance was beyond reconsideration, adding, "I was never swayed by NATO. I always knew they were a paper tiger, and Putin knows that too, by the way." Trump claimed NATO wasn't there for the U.S. when Washington rallied behind its European allies in the face of Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine. "We've been there automatically, including Ukraine. Ukraine wasn't our problem. It was a test, and we were there for them, and we would always have been there for them. They weren't there for us." Trump's skepticism of the alliance has been well documented, which dates back to before his 2016 election win. He has previously described the alliance as obsolete. Last week, Trump lashed out over their unwillingness to help with the conflict and implied the U.S. may no longer be there for its allies. He blasted the Europeans for failing to step up. "I'm so disappointed in NATO. This was a test. You can help us. You don't have to. But if you don't do that, you're going to remember." Yeah, I would agree with the majority of people writing in that it's unacceptable when you can't even let us use your base. Well, Lisa DeFartre at the New York Post. I know I butchered her name and I apologize. But she's a foreign policy analyst and media commentator based in LA. She says the Western media keeps asking whether regime change in Iran has failed. That question is not only premature when it comes to the war in Iran, but also mistakenly assumes the outcome will be decided by the West. It won't. The U.S. and Israeli military operations has materially changed the equation on the ground. It has degraded the regime's repressive infrastructure, disrupted its communications, and stripped its ability to coordinate violence against its own population. For decades, the principal obstacle to a grassroots Iranian uprising was not a lack of will, but the asymmetry of force between a population determined to fight for its freedom and a security apparatus built specifically to quash it. That asymmetry is narrowing. But leveling the playing field is not the same as winning the fight. That part belongs to the Iranian people. The West can create the conditions. Only Iranians can create a country. In January, millions of Iranians took to the streets knowing that it would cost them. More than 30,000 were killed. Over 330,000 were injured. That was not even the beginning of the revolution, but the continuation of one built on decades of repression. Populations do not absorb casualties at a cause that they are not willing to abandon, or that they are willing to abandon easily. Sorry about that. I've been researching and reporting on Iran for over 2 decades. The question I keep hearing from Western media is whether anyone can say with confidence what Iranians want. I can. Despite internet blackouts, isolation, and the very real threat of death for speaking out, the Iranian people have told their story clearly and repeatedly at enormous personal cost. What is striking is how confidently those who have never spoken to a single Iranian are now speaking for them. That Iranians don't want this war, that they are content to live under the regime, that they have no capacity to reclaim their country. The evidence across multiple cycles of protests, from the Green Movement through Women, Life, Freedom, through the deadly January protest, tells a different story. Iranians want the end of the Islamic Republic, not its reform. They have said so clearly and repeatedly. What is also being missed is the unique and tactical nature of President Trump's strategy. For years, Washington ping-ponged between two options on Iran, both inadequate: bomb the program or accept the bomb. Neither addressed the underlying problem, which was not the bomb, but the system producing it. Neither would remove the threat. President Trump employed a third option, which I have been advocating for years and one that neither party has been willing to attempt in a serious way: partner with the Iranian people. The military operation was always designed to be one half of a two-part strategy. Its purpose was not to topple the regime from the outside, but to degrade the apparatus that has kept the Iranians from toppling it themselves. In the opening hours of Operation Epic Fury, Trump said explicitly that the outcome would be up to the Iranian people. The U.S. and Israel take them to the 1-yard line. Iranians carried it in, which is precisely why calling this a failed revolution is a category error. We have not yet entered that act in which the Iranian people move. Exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, who has been a leading voice for the Iranian people and the only transitional figure they are currently supporting, has asked the Iranians to prepare not yet to march. That is strategically consistent with the military timeline. The regime's navy is gone, its air force is gone, its communications are shattered. The security apparatus that once made mass repression effortless is fracturing. The calculation is not whether Iranians will mobilize, it is when. Declaring the revolution over before that moment arrives is premature and impatient. The Islamic Republic has always known how to rebrand under pressure. It has done it before and survived. The nuclear deal should have been a lesson for the West not to trust a regime that will not alter its deadly ideology or rogue agenda. Lasting stability in the region requires a clean break, not personnel change. Ultimately, Iran's fate belongs to Iranians. The West did not start this revolution, and it cannot finish it alone. The more consequential question is whether Western government will accurately read what the Iranian people have already made clear, or once again negotiate a convenient settlement with a regime that produced a crisis in the first place. That choice belongs to the West. The revolution belongs to the Iranians. I thought that was a good way to end that segment on Iran, but of course you can keep weighing in. We're going to be talking about New York State budget. I'm running late. But yes, the New York State budget is due today. It is not going to happen, so much so that we received press releases from Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, Assemblyman Joe Semplinsky, and New York State Senator Tom O'Mara yesterday saying we were going to miss the budget deadline. We knew it. It's no surprise. So we'll talk about it when we return. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here at WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
This year, WYDC is bringing you 25 New York Mets games free over the air this spring and summer. No fees and no subscription services. Tune into WJKP 48.2 to watch the New York Mets this MLB season. Let's go Mets!
Having a safe home is essential to many aspects of our lives. From a sense of community and safety, to physical and mental health, to economic security and independence. Most homes in our communities are not accessible and are not designed to accommodate the changes that come with age, including the risk of falling. The Older Adults Home Modification Program helps reduce the risk of falls, improves safety, and increases accessibility and independence. Through this program, Rebuilding Together works with older adults to provide no-cost preventative home repairs so our neighbors can safely age in place in the homes and communities they love. To learn more, visit rebuildingtogether.org/safeathome.
Hot Hot tubs. With Easter coming, what better way to make every day better than with a Hesselson's hot tub? During these uncertain, stressful times, what better way to relieve tension and relax those achy muscles? During Easter week, free chemicals and free steps, and the new and innovative energy-efficient smart top and hydraulic lift systems are just half price. Plus, huge, unprecedented discounts on 2025 models as factory reps will be on hand. Hesselson's Easter week hot tub sale is going on now through Saturday at 5 p.m. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corner.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from a viewer, not to beat the subject into the ground, but regarding NATO. Is anyone really surprised that France, who cowardly ran away from Vietnam once we went to help them, or the socialist country, whose name presently eludes me, would not let us use their airspace or bases? Given this and other pertinent facts, I have to believe that NATO will soon be a footnote in U.S. history. And didn't France leave us with the Panama Canal? I think I would agree that NATO is going to be a footnote here pretty soon. Now, I don't know next time there's a Democrat president if they don't try to form it again. But this idea, it is kind of strange to me. So many people treat NATO as if, especially in the media and on the left, as if it's so important. My goodness, like it's the gospel that we need to be a part of it. I think they just proved their true colors, right? But let's talk about New York State. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano reacted to the budget being late, sending out a press release yesterday saying, in typical Albany fashion, the governor and legislature are going to blow past the legally required April 1st deadline for the state budget. This is dysfunction at its finest. Despite being united in the same political party, the Democrats still can't get a budget done on time. And because of this, we were forced to pass a budget extender to make sure the state can keep the lights on. This is not a one-time failure. It has become the norm. Unfortunately, I imagine this will be the first of many extenders. Families across New York don't get to pick and choose when they pay their bills, and neither should the state. The deadline is not new, and the expectations are not unclear. For Albany Democrats to once again miss it is unacceptable. But at this point, not surprising, as the budget has not been on time since 2019. Year after year, this process drags on, reducing transparency and limiting the ability of members and the public to fully review what is being passed. And the consequences are real. School districts, local governments, and communities are forced to make decisions without the certainty they need. They don't have the luxury of waiting for Albany to catch up. It seems both the governor and the legislature are okay with holding New Yorkers hostage to political priorities and backroom negotiations, rather than delivering a budget rooted in sound fiscal policy. Also, Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski, who, as a reminder, will be on the program on Friday, so make sure you get your questions for Joe Sempolinski. He said, here we are again. If we need more evidence that one-party rule in Albany isn't working, this is it. Albany Democrats seem incapable of fulfilling the most fundamental role of government, and that's passing on an on-time budget. This highlights more than anything else the need to restore common sense spending practices and to reform the state budget process. All these budget proposals by the governor and Democrat majority are over $250 billion. That's an irresponsible, unsustainable level of spending, and it's an insult to the hardworking taxpayers of New York who are struggling to pay their utility bills and put food on their table. This is exactly what happens when you think the only solution to a problem is throwing more money at it. More government and more taxes aren't the answer, and we shouldn't have 3 people in a room deciding the budget and laws for $20 million. That is not democracy. Now, back last year, if you recall, the state budget wasn't adopted until May 8th, 5 weeks late. So I've heard some predictions, or I've seen people make predictions, but who was it? Oh, here we go. Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins told reporters yesterday, we're at the beginning of the middle. Again, the deadline is today. We are at the beginning to the middle. I got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
And then the man didn't hire William Mattar and settle for a low ball offer. Ooh. Ooh.
Bill, that's really not that scary.
Really? It gives me the chills. I mean, at William Mattar, we only handle motor vehicle accident cases, and they should have called us.
Dealing with big insurance doesn't have to be scary. Rideshare truck, motorcycle, car, only call William Mattar.
You can just keep watching and scrolling, and the world will still feel like it's falling apart.
Widespread misalignment. Highest hospitalization evacuation in the West.
Or you can take action by joining a movement that's creating real and lasting change instead. Partnering with communities around the globe to help uproot poverty and plant seeds of hope for a brighter tomorrow. Because at World Vision, we believe that no situation is hopeless. Join a movement that's changing the world for good.
Morning after that wet stretch yesterday and last night, some lingering shower chances today. Temperature high of 57. That's falling through the day with cooler air moving in behind that departing system. Now bottoming out tonight in mid-30s towards low 40s to our south, and then we'll see a return of 60s on Thursday. Notice additional shower chances. 70s Friday and Saturday, cooler at the start of next week on the other side of Easter rain.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Let's go to a couple viewer comments. How much does it cost us taxpayers when the budget is late? Great question. The extender, probably not as much as when the budget actually passes and they add on the new spending, to be honest. Comment from a different viewer. If the budget is legally due today, why are there no ramifications for those breaking the law? Stop the extensions. Great point. It's kind of what Phil and Joe were saying. It's the law. You don't get to decide when you pay your bill. You don't get to decide if you say, I'm not going to pay my New York State taxes by the 15th. I think I'll wait. I'll send them an extender. State Senator Tom O'Mara and members of the Senate Republican Conference sent a letter to Governor Hochul urging the governor to demand the inclusion of two pieces of legislation in this year's final state budget that would provide immediate relief to New York's utility ratepayers continuing to face skyrocketing costs. The letter reads in part, since you became governor in 2021, $88.7 billion has been invested in clean energy programs, with the funding mainly paid by ratepayers on their utility bills. The numbers indicate that ratepayer funding has reached its capacity. Immediate relief needs to be made available to ratepayers. The energy transition needs to move forward with reasonable and achievable goals that are affordable. The ratepayer cannot bear the whole burden. Now, O'Mara is a member of the Senate Energy and Telecommunications Committee, and he said it's irresponsible for New York State to go on asking ratepayers to bear the burdens of what's become a questionable climate agenda. Ratepayers need relief now. It should be a priority in this budget to utilize at least $3 billion of unspent funds sitting in NYSERDA's bank account or in a utilities coffer and return it to the ratepayer to help offset the significant increases in the cost of electricity in the state. Over a 50% increase since the Democrats in Albany enacted the CLCPA. The bottom line on any existing surplus must be to provide relief to taxpayers. We'll see where that goes. The first piece of legislation Senate Republicans want included in this year's budget is sponsored by O'Mara. It would provide nearly $3 billion in bill credits to ratepayers using an unspent fund, as I mentioned. The second measure, sponsored by Senator Rob Rolison, would establish a one-year utility bill tax and surcharge holiday and a 2-year green energy gas tax holiday, which would provide immediate and meaningful relief to ratepayers paying residential electric rates 50% higher than the national average. All right, we got more on new. How am I doing? I'm doing good, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. But as I said, with the budget bill, Andrew Stewart Cousins, the Senate Majority Leader, said we're at the beginning of the middle. Stewart Cousins, who is part of the three-way discussion with Hochul and Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, said spending discussions were at this stage over 2 weeks ago, suggesting that the leaders are stuck and senior staff and leaders have yet to debate higher taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers and corporations and a push to change the state's Tier 6 pension system in three-way meetings. While conversations have been plodding along, Stewart Cousins said they've been productive, working to finalize creating a protest buffer zone around houses of worship and updating the state's environmental review process. But Stewart Cousins chuckled when asked whether lawmakers might vote on budget bills next week, saying, "We obviously still have a lot of work to do. We really haven't started on the real money part of the budget yet." Think of this, and I think it was Joe's comment on this, Joe Sempolinski, which is a great point. You've got one-party rule in Albany. You've got three members, obviously, of that party negotiating behind closed doors, so we know nothing about what's going on, and they still can't reach a budget on time. They still can't reach the budget by that legal deadline of April the 1st, laughing, chuckling. We obviously still have a lot of work to do. We really haven't started on the real money part of the budget. I know some people are making, the legislature still does not have language or the full details of how Hochul wants to amend the 2019 Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act to delay the deadlines for its emissions reduction mandates or change the methodology for counting greenhouse gas emissions. Kroger said lawmakers have rumored proposals, but nothing more concrete. I wish I could tell you that there was a specific proposal in writing to share with everyone, but we don't have one, and changing the policy is obnoxious. All right. Let's go to this. We have time on this. Because then we got to talk about Bruce Blakeman. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. As budget seasons ramp up in Albany and New York City Hall, New Yorkers should prepare to be blitzed with grand promises of government goodies. Such is life in a deep blue state that the hottest competition will be among far-left Democrats to see who can promise the most freebies. A close second will be the contest to see who is the most passionate about taxing businesses and the so-called rich to pay for those giveaways. Yeah, did you actually see that Zohran Mamdani said with the giveaways, the rich will get them too? Think of it as a huge socialist bake-off, with Mayor Mamdani having already started the bidding by pledging that the road to nirvana will be paved with much higher taxes and much more government spending. That message carried him to a shocking victory last year, and most Democrats are now members of his Amen choir. Governor Hochul pretends not to be, but her fig leaf of resistance is suspect and faces a real-life test. The rich, of course, will have no real say in the matter, except to grumble and move out of the city and state to avoid the unfolding disaster. Ditto for successful businesses, which are viewed by the left as so many chickens waiting to be plucked. But as Jamie Dimon, CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, noted yesterday on Fox News, already there's a huge exodus taking place. It's not good for the city. He added that sky-high taxes often think they're being moral, or taxers often think they're being moral by doing that, but they're not. What they're doing is they're hurting their own city. And unfortunately, people vote with their feet. Even before the final act in the budget mashup, it's worth a detour to consider a prime example of how New York government has become so unfriendly to the rich, wanting this exodus, to the point that no matter how much it taxes and spends, they need more to keep expanding. Think of it as a congestion pricing on steroids. In that sense, City Hall has accidentally revealed a dirty little secret. Namely, that the affordability crisis that has become the political siren song of the era is directly related to the cost of government itself. There is an irony aplenty in that Exhibit A comes in the form of what Mamdani and his comrades consider a major victory. On Monday, the mayor announced his first free childcare program for municipal workers, which his office called a step in his plan to provide universal childcare. The pilot will include the children of city workers based at the Lower Manhattan David N. Dinkins Municipal Building, in addition to all Department of Citywide Administrative Services employees, no matter where they work. The program will operate on the ground floor of the building and provide free year-round care Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Free is a good price, right? except that the city is first going to renovate the 4,000 square foot site at a whopping cost of $10 million. Completion is slated for the fall, when the center is scheduled to open to about 40 children ages 6 weeks to 3 years old. Now, if you look at that, the annual is going to be 2.3. I don't want to get into anymore, even though we end up paying for it. But I don't want to get specifically into just the city. But unfortunately, Hochul's history of opportunistic shape-shifting suggests she will cave in and back the tax hikes, believing that that's where the votes are. She could be right, with polls showing her with a double-digit lead over the GOP nominee, Bruce Blakeman. But the margin of her lead has narrowed and now stands at 13 points, according to a Siena poll. In February, it showed her up by 20 points. The new poll contains 3 other clear warning signs for Hochul. Her lead in the city is still large, but fell by 17 points. And independents now favor Blakeman by 7 instead of her by 5. Another surprising finding is that by a 54 to 36% margin, statewide voters support President Trump's push to require proof of citizenship when voters register and a photo ID every time they vote. If those trends hold and expand, Hochul won't have much room to maneuver on the tax and spend front. With Wall Street already unhappy about the spending levels and the rise of municipal debt, a bid by her to please the Mamdani crowd could lead to a full-blown financial crisis and a stampede for the exit. In that case, she would likely lose the election and go down in history as the governor who broke New York. We got to take a break. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Watch news from the Twin Tiers and catch local events on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
There have always been a few, ready to fight and win. Since 1775, these few have been Marines, and they come from across this land to defend the future of our nation. This year, our Corps celebrates 250 years, and Marines are proud to serve this country, each other, and all that is still to come for America.
Hot tubs. With Easter coming, what better way to make every day better than with a Hesselsen's hot tub? During these uncertain, stressful times, what better way to relieve tension and relax those achy muscles? During Easter week, free chemicals and free steps, and the new and innovative energy-efficient smart top and hydraulic lift systems are just half price. Plus, huge, unprecedented discounts on 2025 models as factory reps will be on hand. Hesselsen's Easter week hot tub sale is going on now through Saturday at 5 p.m. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corner.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Mark writes in, even if Hochul reverses the Clean Energy Act that totally made our electricity bills outrageous, we will never see that money back. Democratic crooks won't return. The Democratic crooks won't return it. Hochul, a comment from a different viewer. You're right. Mark's exactly right. Different viewer. Hochul to millionaires. Please come back to New York State. Yeah, Kathy, I'm sure they're feeling bad about leaving. Not. Thank you very much. And Ken writes in, you have to be understanding of the New York Democrats situation this year. They need to milk the New York cash cows to fill their coffers with enough money to keep themselves and their benefactors flush with cash, while trying to make sure the sheeple think that they are doing the hard work for them. So they continue to vote for Democrats. That's a good point, Ken. Thank you very much. Now, I did mention there must be some type of concern. It is shocking to me how partisan... Listen, there's full party control in Albany. Are the Democrats so aware of Governor Hochul? Not because remember, the argument is Governor Hochul was never supposed to be governor. That's why Cuomo picked her. So are they so aware of her many faults that they are scared to let Bruce Blakeman run the way the system is designed to run? Because we had mentioned at the beginning of the program, Democrats blocked Bruce Blakeman from millions in campaign matching funds. Blakeman won't be able to access as much as $7 million of public funds for his gubernatorial campaign. Now, listen, we can have the argument about whether or not we want matching funds, but the fact of the matter is they are in effect. But because of a piece of paperwork that was not yet created, they are keeping this money from Blakeman. Blakeman and good government watchdogs condemned the vote, which was adopted along party lines. The public financing program is designed to boost challengers and reduce the structural advantages of incumbents like Hochul. So the whole reason they created this system is they said they created it. They've just proved themselves liars on that. They proved themselves that was never what it was about. The state's Public Campaign Finance Board on Tuesday voted that Blakeman, who secured the Republican nomination last month, filed a deficient application because he didn't list his running mate. The resolution also applied to 5 minor party candidates. The vote occurred as a new Siena poll, as I mentioned earlier, still has Hochul in a 13-point lead. Blakeman's spokesperson said, with the race tightening and her poll numbers sagging, it's no surprise Governor Hochul's handpicked appointees would vote to take away funds from Bruce Blakeman's campaign. This reeks of corruption. Now, Hochul's campaign spokesperson said the Campaign Finance Board made its own determination and that the onus is on each campaign to ensure they meet its requirements. Okay. Now, Brian Kolb, you may remember that name, the Republican vice chair of the Public Campaign Finance Board, called Tuesday's vote gotcha politics that is frankly disgraceful. This is an abomination of trying to do bureaucratic nonsense to try to eliminate candidates for an election. It defeats the whole purpose of the Public Campaign Finance Board to the voters, to the donors who want to participate in New York. Now, the New York Post editorial board. Do I have time for this? Let's take a short break. We'll wrap up on this and get your last second comments in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
You deserve primary care that connects. Care that helps you move forward. Care that connects you to world-class specialists. Care that connects you to providers who are part of your community. And care that connects you to the life you love. Because great healthcare comes from providers who care about connection, just like you. Find your primary care appointment at centralishealth.org/schedule.
When a child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Yay! Become a wishmaker today and be part of a journey that truly changes lives.
Morning after that wet stretch yesterday and last night, some lingering shower chances today. Temperature high of 57. That's falling through the day with cooler air moving in behind that departing system. Now bottoming out tonight in mid-30s towards low 40s to our south, and then we'll see a return of 60s on Thursday. Notice additional shower chances. 70s Friday and Saturday, cooler at the start of next week on the other side of Easter rain.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Mark writes in, if they want to make it a fair campaign, they should pull Hochul's campaign money. She doesn't deserve it either. That's a fair point. Comment from a different viewer. Morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Hochul is definitely a big problem for New York State, but the one-party Democrat government must be broken up if we want New York State to survive. These so-called humans are absolute communists. Comment from a different viewer. Let's not just skip over the fact Mamdani is spending $10 million for daycare for 41 kids. Shades of Minnesota. Very good point. And Steve writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Steve. Would you expect anything less out of the Democrats that are by far the most corrupt politicians that our country will ever see? Corruption goes both ways, but there is no comparison in any way, shape, or form that corrupt Democrats are. There is no arguing that. On that point, the final piece that we have here by the New York Post editorial board: are Democrats now so corrupt they'd bar Bruce Blakeman from getting campaign funding? The answer is yes. This came out early in the morning. But they were asking the question, is this really? Because the system, it's hard to escape the conclusion that the system, designed and signed into law by the same Democrats running the state now, is doing what it was billed to do: protect incumbents, especially ones named Kathy. The state system is modeled on the gold standard version, and that's in quotes, in New York City, which has achieved none of its promised goals and all of its secret ones. Proponents said public financing would broaden participation in the electoral system, enabling unconnected newbies to run for office and make re-election of incumbents less automatic. City incumbents still almost always get re-elected, and public financing hasn't made campaigns any better so much as just shifted powers to unions and government-funded nonprofit community groups. I know I'm running late. But in her typical paranoid style, she wants to rig her own system to deny her opponent a fighting chance at beating her this fall. The best thing would be for New York to get rid of public campaign financing altogether. This isn't the system's first scandal. Short of that, the board needs to give Blakeman the money that he legally is owned or defend its hackery in open court. And it sounds like there will be a lawsuit filed. And yes, should the rich New Yorkers get free stuff too, according to Mom Donnie? Yes. Okay. Well, that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you for everybody joining us. Can't believe how quickly that went. We covered a little bit of everything. Sure, glad that you could be a part of it with all your questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, waves, all of that. Tomorrow's program will be you and I. Friday, we'll have Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski. He'll be joining us, so make sure you get your questions in for Joe. As I mentioned, we had to reschedule with Doc Possum, so we will reschedule that and get that information for you when that is set in stone, because I know you don't want to miss Doc Possum after all the great music he provided during the Salvation Army telethon. All right, that does it for this morning's edition of Frankly Speaking. Please join us every weekday morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning bright and early. I look forward to it already. Have a great day, everyone.
What a day. Rock and roll, let's go!
Do you want an experience that wakes you up? A place where you can scream to your heart's delight? Go ahead. No one will hear you anyway.
Yeah, let's go, baby!
Here, you don't just watch. You feel. Come as you are and have a damn good time.
Who is your daddy?
That rumble you hear, that growl you feel, that's us.
Hell yeah, boys!